So I would like us to maybe start with looking at just one scripture that I picked. That is 2 Corinthians 4, verse 7. And it says, "But we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us." I hope that's what we are picking. That power we are asking for is from God, not from us. Because as we get powerful, we may forget. The Message Bible puts it, if you only look at us, you might well miss the brightness. We carry this precious message around in the unadorned clay pots of our ordinary lives. That's to prevent anyone from confusing God's incomparable power with us. Very powerful. And I titled my message, "Is Owning the Power About I or We?" And you will understand why. Now, power refers to the ability to have one's will carried out despite the resistance of others. That's what power is. This is the election year. And if you have seen power being displayed, there's never been a time like now. And you know how we look at it and say there is power being displayed? You know, from the natural eye. Watu walijaa pale. Come and see what's happening. That's a mammoth crowd. We are shashinda huyu. That's how we see it. And that is exactly what has happened. We have looked at power from that perspective, and we have seen the tricks. There was a whole documentary on this, on the tricks being employed of people being ferried. It doesn't matter which side. People are ferrying people in buses. People are being paid mujazane. Because that's how we see power. And we see that once that power is there, even crowds that are pulled together to heckle so and shout the right words, power. That's how it is seen. Sad to say that even in our churches, we've got to that place that power is seen according to how many chairs have been filled up in a church. Then you say, there's power in that church. Unaona vile inajaa. There's power. From the natural perspective, that may be seen as true. But we know who we serve. The God who made mankind, he knows it's not about numbers. The ones who draw the crowds, the reason why they worry is they are doing it from the natural perspective. So they are not at peace. Every day you must think of how much do we have remaining to woo crowds. But when you know it is God, let you be 3 or 4. That's going to work miracles. And we see it clearly in Judges, chapter 7, where Gideon was setting his army to go and fight the Midianites. And God slashed the numbers down to 300. And God says, the people who are with you are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hands, lest Israel claim glory for itself against me, saying, my own hand has saved me. So he knows, because that's where we brag from. Tulikuwa wengi na tuliwamaliza wote. And when we see things that way, it may not make sense. On Wednesday, we were being taught using, Bishop T was talking to us on Daniel, if I recall, 11, part B of it, which was on the people who know their God shall be strong and do exploits. And then he made us understand knowledge, transformation, results. I think I recall that. The way Bishop was preaching from here, I don't know why people miss out Wednesday. If you know what happens here on Wednesday, no distraction, it comes. Anyway, let me not digress. What I mean is this. When I looked at Bishop preaching, I stopped even at that point listening because I said, is he seeing more than I'm seeing around this place? With such gusto. The energy, the way the message was so well arranged. And then I realized, when you know where your power is coming from, do you know it doesn't matter the number? You will give it to one person seated here. Because whoever has given you that power knows what he gave you to send it to these people. And the effect, the astronomical effect out there will be amazing for whoever runs with it. And that's the difference. I felt that day that he brought the house down. You know, if I could use the world language. You know how they said, hey, he brought the house down. I would say, that day for me, it was powerful. I remember telling him as he was leaving, I just saw a difference. I think that owning your power comes from such a place. When you know what is inside of you. And I've seen people who walk around, they are so calm and cool. You sense there's a power within them, which they don't display by saying, do you know me? They don't. They walk around. Even when they sit gently, there is something in them. That's the kind of power we should own. Now, how do we get there? Power begins with knowing who you are. For some of us here, there are HR practitioners, leaders in various marketplaces, social workers or psychologists. You know that you've worked with something called the Johari's window. The Johari's window has 4 window panes. The open, the blind, the hidden, and the unknown. That open window pane, that pane, is all things you know about yourself. And others know. The public know. It's known to the public. So if somebody tells you, hey, Rosemary, hey, you love chewing gum, kweli. I say, actually, it's true. I've been trying to fight that habit, but I know. Because you know it's true. Hey, Rosemary, you sleep a lot in church when there's preaching. Yeah, okay, I really doze off. It's in the public. So it's not surprising to you. If they say, all those things that you're aware of, Ma'am Liz, you are so tall. Why would she be shocked to be when you tell her she's tall? She'll tell you, yeah, I'm actually very tall. I'm aware. That's the open pane. Then we have the hidden. Now, the hidden is where you have everything that you feel, I don't want people to know. I have not yet dealt with it. It's private. And maybe your support system is the only one that knows whatever is there. From the scars you have from a certain operation. I said in the morning, some couples don't even know those scars are there. I've learned some couples are not so open, so maybe dressing is still hidden. And I told Pastor Elijah that's something to be handled in the marriage. If your partner does not know you have a scar somewhere, kuna mambo. But what I mean is this. There are certain hidden things that you're like, hey, hii kigunduliwa, I'm not safe. It's in the hidden pain. Some things you may have done, you are not comfortable with, etc. Some secrets. And you've shared maybe with a partner, with your mom, with your brother, your sister. And you're like, hii kitu isitoke inje. When those things come out, because you begin to open up, as you get to a certain level, you open up. They are pushed to the open pain. So that means the open pain becomes wider. You're getting to know who you are. The third pain is the blind. That is where the pain is. Because these are things that are known by others and not known to you. So when somebody approaches you and says something like, you know, you need to deal with the way you snap at people I snap at people? Me? Really? I thought I'm very calm. Actually, you do. Sijawahi sikia. And you go to Esther. Esther, is it true I snap at people? Actually, you do. I snap. I have never known. Ask the blind. Painful. Very painful. And it normally comes from people who are very close to you. And if it's repeated by different people, you need to check. They're just telling you, be aware. And once you are aware, it moves to the open pain, which means your open pain is getting bigger. The unknown are the things that we get to know about ourselves we are not aware of, because God is the only one who knows when they shall be revealed. I am very sure that Honorable Rua, when he started his walk as a Christian, never in his mind did he see he would be in politics and vying for a seat somewhere. It may have come later, because God brought it out to him later. Some of you are in different fields right now because of that. What was in the unknown has popped up. So what happens with the window pane? Instead of having 4, eventually you have one big one with very little small corners, because some things are still quite sensitive. You don't want them out. But you have broadened the window pane. Now, what does that mean? You are ready to own your power. You cannot own your power when these things are still meddling with you, because you'll be so messed up. When you have opened and things have come out and you're aware and you can even speak them, I am still struggling with how to be patient with my wife at home. I know it's something I need to work on. Because you're aware of it, it means you are somewhere better. You are not in denial. So once you know that, then you can own your power, because you'll know your worth. And the scriptures are very clear. God, in each one of us, he made us. And there's in Psalm 139, verse 16, David says this: your eyes saw my unformed substance, and in your book all the days of my life were written before ever they took shape, when as yet there was none of them. Scripture is talking to us, because God knows. He saw and he knows. But he can work with you when you have come to terms with who you are. You can only own power, know your strengths and areas of growth. We call them areas of growth, not weakness, because we want to strive to get out of that. You will know your territory. This is where I was sent to impact the world. And you'll know your influence. Away from your territory, but you're in someone else's, and you know the influence you have. That's when you can talk of having power. Owning it. When you own it, it will mean very many things. It will mean that you understand first and foremost, it is God-given. And you'll only know it's God-given if it sits still in your heart. Ubabaiki. The minute you keep wondering, are they recognizing me? Do they know that I'm the one who did these seats? I hope they'll mention me at the end, that I did them. Are they going to talk about me because I'm the one who tied the bands? There's something amiss. Something is amiss. So if you understand that it is God-given, it will sit well. If you will also understand that it is not meant for you, that power we are saying, to own it, it is not for you alone to benefit. If you will understand that you are just a vessel that God wants to use with that power that we want to own, and that there are others who played a role to get you to know how to own your power, whether it was negatively or positively, that so that you never forget. So it means that certain circumstances, if they were not there, you would not have known how to own your power. Now, to own this power, I have learned, and I struggled to understand this, but I realized there are people who have a role they play in our lives. And as I was doing the message, I saw clearly what I needed to point out. And I looked at 4 women. And I drew parallels of these women from the time that they have them mentioned in the Bible to the kind of women that we are today. And I want to talk about them. The first one is Sarah. Sarah, you know, was Abraham's wife. A woman who stayed in a marriage until she was 90 years. Her husband was 100 by the time they were getting their son. What was that life like? You wonder. Yet they stuck together. We are not told there were other wives who came in until she made the blunder of bringing Hagar, her power. And she went. In fact, she told her husband in Genesis 16, "The Lord has kept me from having children. Go sleep with my maid servant. Perhaps I can build a family through her." Abraham agreed to what Sarai said. Let me tell you, every time I read that verse, I get so lost. How? Mimi niambie msichana wangu wa kazi, enda kwa yule Omole. How? You know our nature. Perhaps even when the eye is turned somewhere, you ask, who are you staring at? Sasa end up with a child, to get a child. Very puzzling. That was what we would call a blunder that she did. She and her husband also committed a certain blunder. When they were going to south of Egypt, because there was famine in their land, the husband said, "You are such a beauty. And the men in Egypt, whoever it is, will see you and assume and kill me if they know that I'm your husband. So let us make this thing look like I'm your brother so that I can play safe." And she accepted. She accepted. The third one was when she laughed. When God said that she would have a child, and she laughed. 3 blunders. I'm telling you, if it was we who had blundered like that 3 times, Ishia, you are not getting that child, get lost. But God had already decided and made a promise that I will bless you. And so it had to pass. But this lady had her power. And we're not told whether she had time to discuss with other women how barren she was and for how long. No. Yet we know that nations have come through her. Now, what made her husband stay around? I'm not sure. But I imagine the dinner time, the 2 of them. By the time you're 90, muko wawili hivi, spending time together. And it wasn't a big deal. Abraham had every right to say, "Let me get another one." He didn't. He stayed around. But look at the closeness. You know, by the time your husband is saying, "You know, you're such a beauty," watu, they might just disappear with you and they kill me. There was an open relationship. By the time I go and tell Sam, chukua maid, nikubaya hapa, it means I have a deep relationship with him. These two had a way of staying together no matter what. The blunders came, but they stayed together. There was a man who allowed her to make the wrong decision. What am I saying, ladies? In this story, there was a man. Abraham could have done it another way. When we get our power, we need to know who was around us. If there's that man and your power gets to a point of, I have it now, you will lose the way. Because for Sarah, we see what came forth as a result. She was patient, and she had power in that when she was barren. She accepted the circumstances until she allowed something to happen. And they hung in there. Sarah, 2022, comes in. Let's think of that Sarah. Just think of it. Are they there? Are they patient? I have a number of clients, 3.5 years in marriage, 5 years. They have walked to so many hospitals to find out who is on the wrong, why I'm not getting children, what is going on. And I say, how will the baby come with this tension? It is so early. Enjoy this marriage first. Relax. The baby must have come year 1. What are we waiting for? And so one has broken up. I'm in the process of talking to the other, because their religion allows them to have a second or a third. But the wife did not agree. And she is so down because of it. The Sarah and the Abraham of old are not there. And what am I saying? Ladies, the men who are in our lives, when we are in this waiting period, we need to know they are there. And sometimes we may go off and think otherwise and do other things. But let us not forget that they are there and they have helped us to hang on. In our time, if Sarah existed, there would be suspicion, there would be hostility, and there would always be fights, back and forth, from mother-in-law to father-in-law. And that is what is happening currently. What I am saying, bottom line, is blunders that happened in that home of Sarah and Abraham, there was support that came from the man. When we look at Esther, the Jewish girl, orphaned and brought up by a man, her uncle Mordecai. So when Queen Vashti aliringa na her beauty and refused to parade herself, Esther comes in. Her beauty stood out. And for her sake, her identity was hidden. The good thing, Esther was prayerful. The good thing, she told Mordecai, we need to, when Mordecai said, this is about to happen to us, there's a big plan to execute all of us, what will we do? It became clear that something needed to be done. And so she said, we shall pray and fast. So she was a prayerful woman, gentle and a quiet spirit in her. The king had many beautiful wives, but her demeanor had pulled him to her. So how are we using our beauty power? Is it a threat to others right now? I'm looking at this girl called Esther. Esther, at the point where things got hot, she did not want to act immediately. She said, Ami, I don't know what to do. I cannot go before the king. And she was told by the very uncle, a man in her life, He said, Ujue, when things collapse, you are going with it. You won't be safe. He's the one who instilled the confidence in her. There was a supportive role of that man. Even when we look at the fact that we know very clearly that God has everything planned out. In Jeremiah 1:5, Esther must have been part of this plan. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew and approved of you as my chosen instrument. And before you were born, I separated and set you apart, consecrating you. So she was already separated. But there was a man. And he would sit at the gates, her uncle. Now, there are men in our lives who perhaps they have seen our power. They've seen what kind of power you have within you. Whether it's your business acumen, whether it is your intelligence, whether it's just your physical way, the way you touch things, there's someone who sees something that you can explore and go far. And some of them have supported us in various ways. You've gone back to school. How many of us have given them back the honor? You want power. How many of us have given back the honor? I'm talking about just saying, Mordecai, asante. I know when I wanted to go back to school, I had been to school a number of times and took loans and loans from my circle, teacher's circle. So I could not qualify anymore. And now, the big thing I wanted to do had come. I needed to do my master's program, and I had no money. When I got the acceptance, I stood at Moi Avenue at the stage for 10 minutes saying, God, this chance has come. I can't get a loan. I need to come back to school. But if I go home and talk to Mr. Omole, and he says, it's okay, or he smiles, then I'm okay. And that's what happened. When he smiled, I knew atalipa. He said, I'll pay the fee. And what I did, every time I would get my transcript, Nina yangu, by the way, I have my transcript. I don't have a gown yet. I had my gown, but we returned them. Mimi niko na yangu. Every time the transcript came, I would take it to him. He's the one paying the fees. Whether he understood what was written there or not, sijui, but I would show him. I'm not wasting your money. Honor, just to honor him. Okay? But too many homes are broken because kama ile power ingekuwa imeniingia, mimi Rosemary, sasa si nimesoma, and I've gone ahead of him. The power of holding my waist. Ati I do what? Ask him. I came in late. I still have to fix that breakfast, put it on the tray for him, make his egg the way he wants it, and you know him, he doesn't want the fork facing this way and this way, he can shout, then now dress and come to church. I put aside kofia ya masters unaka kwa mlango. That power does not interfere with the home. It's the way God would want it. I don't know whether some of you know the song Stella Wangu. It's about that. The gentleman, I didn't know it's a true story. He was interviewed. Bishop, maybe you're not aware of that song. Maybe you are. But the song that talks about this lady this man who gave his all, sold everything, and this girl went to Japan to study. And he would keep sending. He sold. And by the time she was coming back, he came with all his family. Hey, my girlfriend or wife-to-be is coming. And when they go to the airport, Stella came out with Japani, futitano, na mtoto. It was over. That was her story. But that power that she got out of the support that came from a man was destroyed. And what I'm saying is, if we look at Esther, because she heeded what Mordecai said, she saved a whole generation. what will you save or do with the people who have supported you? It could be your brother. It just could be your father. Anyone who has walked with you and you're wondering, why are they in my life now? I remember a gentleman who came to our school, the public school I was in slippers and a shirt that was untucked. And he asked us for this particular teacher. And when that teacher came, he really told off this gentleman. We were seeing from the window and we were arguing. This mzee, mbona anasomewa hivi? That was the father. And it occurred to me that he was ashamed that the man who has made him get to where he is came without telling him na amekuja na bathroom slippers. Needless to say, very many wrong things happened within the school setup, and a transfer came. I don't know where he is. I'm not wishing him anything unwell. But what I'm saying is that sometimes we forget that those people played a role in our lives. Thank God Esther realized it. In the Bible, there's the story of Abigail. In, I think it's 1 Samuel 25. We may not be able to look at all of it. But this lady is described as an intelligent and beautiful woman. But her husband was surly and mean in his dealings. Surly, ill-mannered man. You know those gruff men, rude. Yeah? But we are told in 1 Samuel 25, verse 3, she carried herself with dignity and integrity, despite her circumstances. Now, unajua, some of us have landed there. You have a man and sometimes you're like, Sasa, how did I end up with this man? How? When he eats with his mouth open. When he's just, how did this man must have put juju in me. He's just a disgrace to be seen with. But that's your husband. Does it change who you are? This lady walked in dignity. She held herself high. In what happened as a result of her husband, Nabal, refusing to help David by giving him some provisions, David got mad and said, I helped this man. I shielded his animals and kept them safe. Now I'm asking him to help me and he has refused. Let's go and kill all the males in that home. And Abigail is told by the maidservant, there are people. David is coming here to Nyorosha. You know that husband of yours, he is wicked. Do you know by the time your maid is telling you your husband is wicked, and it is known all over. And it means you have also discussed it with that maid. Baka, she is free enough to tell you that that man is wicked. But look at what that woman does. If you can just project your verse 20 to 27, it's a long one, but I felt this thing stood out in the way that Abigail dealt with it. 1 Samuel 25. And this happened when she was told that, 20 please, verse 20. Verse 20. As she came riding, now she has told the maid, go ahead with all the food and the provisions, everything, pelekeni huko kwanza, pelekeni David. As she came riding her donkey into a mountain ravine, there were David and his men descending toward her, and she met them. David had just said, it's been useless, all my watching over this fellow's property in the desert, so that nothing of his was missing. He has paid me back evil for good. May God deal with David, be it ever so severely, if by morning I leave alive one male of all who belong to him. When Abigail saw David, she quickly got off her donkey and bowed down before David with her face to the ground. She fell at his feet and said, "My Lord, let the blame be on me alone. Please let your servant speak to you. Hear what your servant has to say. May my Lord pay no attention to that wicked man Nabal. He is just like his name. His name is Fool, and folly goes with him. But as for me, your servant, I did not see the man my master sent. Now, since the Lord has kept you, my master, from bloodshed and from avenging yourself with your own hands, as surely as the Lord lives and as you live, may your enemies and all who intend to harm my master be like Nabal. And let this gift, which your servant has brought to my master, be given to the men who follow you." Yani, the woman poured and poured. And David was smitten. Hey, just go back home. Go home, it is over. The woman, though she crushed her husband before David, so that she could save the homestead, she went out of her way to realize my whole home will go because of my husband's stupidity. Take it now, in the era we are living in. And you have a neighbor in your house who behaves like that, you will go to the rooftop. "I have a useless man. We are going to be killed. Look at him. He's here doing this." You go to Facebook. "What was last seen wearing? He's useless. He was drunk. He has only one sock. Help him." We shout. We shout. But this woman saw a need. Now, her circumstances may have been negative. Because I've said the men may influence us negatively, but you come out strong. This woman, she allowed the situation that she was in to win somebody who was going to kill them. Is your intelligence useful in your territory? Abigail was said to be intelligent. Her husband may not have been the best, but she knew the power she had, and she wielded it. Persuasion, coercion, wisdom. And I know the current Abigail would have said, "Acha afe. David, in fact, let me show you pale ameka. He is drinking somewhere." And that's what he was doing. He was celebrating and drinking. But this wise woman, do you know what she did? She looked at her husband. He was drunk. And decided no discussion can go on. Watch her, let him sober up. When he was sober, he said, "Do you know who was around? Do you know who was around? Tungekuwa tumekwisha sisi." And the way the Bible puts it, it's like he froze and died. But do you know who, when he learned that the woman was free, David said, "Bring, I want her." Who would not want such a woman? Are there Abigails in this current generation? I'm asking myself also. Would I have reacted like her? I would have said, liwe liwalo. Because this is what is happening. And we see a lot of those things posted all over. But she became David's wife. So, we need to be very careful with this power that we are asking to own. Homes are made by we women. So the house may be built by the man, but we are the ones who make the homes. Let it be said of us that he who finds a wife finds a good thing indeed. Let it not be the Proverbs 21, verse 9 that says, "It's better to live alone in the corner of an attic than with a quarrelsome wife in a lovely home." That is my question about the power we want to own. How will we work with it? We have seen stories of many women who have stood by their men. But that man and what he's doing is what has championed that person to stand up. And I'm not advocating for us to stay in abusive relationships. No. I am quick to even talk to my clients and say, if It's physical. Anything can happen. You know what you ought to do. I am saying that these men may not be of your caliber. You got there. Nobody forced you. Make your home. Give the honor. Because the home is made by that woman. The last woman is Mary, the mother of Jesus. I look at Mary and I'm awed by the many things she said yes to. Imagine you're a virgin and somebody is telling you, women do beba. You were even betrothed. Yes, she asked questions. I liked that about her. She asked, how will this be? And then she finally accepted. She didn't fully understand what is going to happen. But she accepted. And she made a lot of sacrifices. Now, imagine, with the acceptance of that meant all the tribulations of giving birth to Jesus in the circumstances that she did. Who put up with all that? Joseph. Joseph did. Joseph accepted after the angel spoke to him, but originally he had said, Papa, I better just disappear. But he did. And I can imagine in his mind, I don't know whether you get pictures, and I think my head goes berserk sometimes when I read the Bible, I picture everything happening, and they are running to Egypt, and of course it's Mary on was it a horse or a donkey? I don't know. And they are running, and Joseph has to do it on foot, and I'm sure he's asking, Lakini, how did I get myself here? Honestly. Because if Joseph had refused, I don't know what the story would have been like. Anyway, God is God. He knew. But what I'm trying to say is this, that even when she gave birth in the circumstances that she did and watched her son being crucified, this lady had a certain dignity in her. Remember the wedding at Canaan? In John chapter 2, verse 3 to 4, she walks to him and says, the wine is finished. He says, woman, why do you ask me now, blah, blah, blah. They have no more wine, yes, and then 4, please. Yes, dear woman, why do you involve me? Jesus replied, my time has not yet come. And then he does a miracle. And the wine, the best wine ever. The Mary of now. 2022. Ati Gabriel appears. I want to own my power. And Gabriel tells me, you will be filled with this. Ngoja, Gabriel. Wait, let me look for my phone. Selfie. I need to prove. Instagram, Twitter, wherever. You should know people. At the wedding. We don't hear her voice anymore. After she said, do whatever he tells you. That's it. And he filled the wine. She didn't go back and say, do you know who I am? I'm the mother of that person. The one who did the miracle. You should know people. Tell them next time they come to me. Because some of us, with our power, that's how we behave. You should know people. But Mary was gentle and didn't allow it to take over, even as she knew there was greatness that came through her body. I am saying this, church, that the whole agenda of having our own power means that we recognize the people who have been a part of our lives. It's not your story alone. There are people involved. If we see the sense in that, then that power will do amazing things in our lives. We shall impact beyond these walls, beyond our homes, in ways that have never been seen. But if it is a selfish power, we will not get there. At the end of it, as I did my reading and understanding all this, it dawned on me, God is saying, equally, I am the one who gives the power. So when I give you that power, please remember it comes from me. Do not feel that now you own it and you can do as you please. It is for His glory. So let's take forth as we set out there with the gusto that we had, Jana, of the power of that meeting, that we shall enjoy having this power with our families impacted positively. May God be with each one of you.